So the other day I came across this story that King Edward the VII was a massive motorcar enthusiast, and he used to fang around the countryside in his convertible at a time where there were very little cars on the road. And his doctor was so worried that he might get chilled that he concocted something called the King's Ginger. And I'm like, the King's Ginger? I need to know more about that. And so I found a recipe which is in the doobly-doo, and that's what we're going to make today. But I was also fascinated by a world where cars were not ubiquitous, where it was a really rare sight to see them. I found this really excellent photo on Trove of the King in one of his cars. And he looks like a very dapper gentleman, but picturing him fanging around the countryside in a convertible, it makes me think of Toad Hall. So the King's Ginger starts with ginger, and it says 2 ounces. So I'm going to use half of that. So I found this great quote about the King. It reports the moment that he fell in love with motorcars. The capture of the King was followed on a chance visit to Highcliffe last year. Mr. Scott Montague was among the house party. The King went out for a ride with his earliest among motorcar men and came back enchanted. Since then, as everyone knows, he has become a motorcar enthusiast and drives at a pace that mocks the 12 miles an hour ordinance. 12 miles an hour, imagine that. That is... Alright, so 12 miles an hour is actually 20k, so that was the speed limit, and he used to fang about much faster. No wonder his doctor was worried about him. Really, the most worrying thing is not that he used to fang about the countryside at 20k an hour, but that he had brandy in his glove box that he used to drink constantly while he was doing it. That's not great. Ginger, more ginger. It calls for a vanilla pod, but I don't have one of those. But I do have some vanilla paste, so I'm going to use that instead. Look how goopy it is. And quite fitting that it's Queen brand since we're making the King's Ginger. Blood. Blood. Sugar. How much sugar? A cup of sugar? One of my favourite quotes that I found really illustrates the crossover period between no cars and getting used to cars on the street. The action of the Prince of Wales in ordering a 6-horsepower automobile from the Daimler Company will assuredly give a great fillip to the industry. His action is all the more noteworthy because he has always been such an ardent lover of horses, and it will show that the driving of an automobile is not necessarily incompatible with the love of horseflesh. 1.5 cups of water. Dissolve, my pretties. The King wasn't the only motorcar enthusiast in the family though, and in 1901, Queen Alexandra wrote to him of her joy of speeding around in a car. I did enjoy being driven about in the cool of the evening at 50 miles. Miles with 2 exclamation marks. When nothing in the way, of course. And I must say I have the greatest confidence in our driver. I poke him violently in the back at every corner to go gently, and whenever a dog, a child or anything else comes in our way, while researching this video, I found this awesome woman named Dorothy Lovett, who wrote a book, The Woman and the Car, a chatty little handbook for all women who motor or want to motor. And that was written in 1909. Now, Dorothy Lovett was this amazing woman. She was a race car driver, she was a speedboat racer. She was a British woman, and she came to my attention because after a set of amazing adventures overseas, she came back to London and she decided what she was going to do was teach women to drive. And she was so well known for it that she was approached to teach the Queen and the royal princesses. And there's this great article from the Star in Sydney in 1909 about her little book. It is interesting to note, by the way, that Miss Lovett is a great believer in her own sex. If a woman wants to learn how to drive and understand a motor car, she says in her book, she can and will learn as quickly as a man. Once it's soft, it wants me to cool the syrup and zest an orange and stick it in a jar with some brandy and the syrup. And this is my brandy. Am I going to spill this horribly? This is all the brandy I have. Alright, funnel. One. Oh. Damn! Now my laptop smells like brandy. So it's been simmering for 20-25 minutes now. The ginger's not fully soft, but you know. So now we leave that to cool. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, the King's Ginger. Now the recipe says that I have to leave it steep for a couple of days, so I'm going to put it in a cupboard and leave it alone. And day 2 of the King's Ginger. Now it's been steeping for 24 hours, so this would be the day that you take the vanilla pod out of it, but we used vanilla seeds. So there's nothing really to be done but to give it a bit of a shake and put it back in the cupboard for another day. Alright, so it's day 3 and I've strained the King's Ginger and I'm here outside with the eminent Dr Robert Reid, who is a theatre historian and now King's Ginger taster.
What does my academic background have to do with the booze? I have no expertise. Well, I mean, I have some expertise in booze.
So it's 10 degrees here and I looked up the temperature in London in 1901 and the hottest day was 10 degrees. So it's the right kind of temperature. So, are you ready?
Sure.
Hold this. Hold this one too.
How are we going to cheers? Would just be like I give you the king, I suppose.
I give you the king?
Well, yes. Well, because you give a toast. That would have been a good thing to look up.
What toast? I can tell you the origin of toast if you'd like.
Why it's called toast?
Yeah. Because, hold that one. No, hold that one too. I have to put the brandy away now.
Well, that's a sad statement.
Gentlemen, the king.
The king.
Ah, it's really good. Is it warming? I may have put double the amount of ginger that the recipe called for.
It's very sweet.
Oh, it's got sugar in it though.
No kidding.
It's got the right amount of sugar. I didn't double the sugar or anything. But also it's got brown sugar, so brown sugar would give it that more caramelizey thing than white sugar.
King liked it sweet.
What do you think? Is it warming? So the whole point of this is it's warming.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. My throat feels warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got kind of warmth going through the belly.
Yeah.
That would, you know, if I drank a bunch of these, spread out into the rest of me.
The whole point though is that it's while he's driving. Like, how terrifying is that?
That's more of a worry.
So, are we in favour? It does taste surprisingly sweet. I thought there would be more of a brandy.
Well, I was hoping for more ginger actually. But, you know, we can make more.
Yeah, that's a giveaway. Morning. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good to be young and in love.
Is that what you guys are doing?